Welcome to Amplify Digital Dose podcast. We have Lori Huss, leadership coach and healthcare consultant, is our keynote speaker. We just thank you for the opportunity to get a chance to get to know and hear your story. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to pass it on to you, Lori. And I just want to, let you open up with just kind of giving us a little bit of how you got the company started, what made you start your organization.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to be a part of this podcast today, and it's a pleasure to be able to speak to your audience today. I hope each of you thrive from this conversation. So to begin with, where did I get started from this? I have been in healthcare and technology for about 20 years, and I've had a lot of success in that by the communities that were surrounded around me, and then also just by working hard and making really good choices about moving forward. About a year and a half ago, I was at Google, and it was an amazing experience to be employed at Google and be one of their leaders also. And I was a remote employee for them, and I was growing as a leader. And I got nominated to be a part of this program called Polaris. And Polaris is a program around advancing women leaders inside of Google. And I was so excited, never even thought that about leaving Google. I was just so determined. But one of the things that happened in this program, they had outside executive coaches working with us and then inside of Google too. But as I was going through the program and I was learning new skills and really sharing what my strengths were and my opportunities, and they were really thinking about growing me, I found myself thinking at that time, because they said that was the first initiative that we have to say, you might stay within Google or you might leave Google. And I remember saying, I would never leave Google. That is not even a chance. But I started after week 2 and week 3 of this year-long program, finding myself saying, well, what if I even thought about that? Because my mentor was saying, you need to think about everything, not just what's inside of Google for growth. And as I started to dive deep and really taking off the blinders, I said, you know what? I really enjoy every day lifting people up. That is what I enjoy. I enjoy helping people be better leaders. And I found myself saying, how many times have I had a great person sit across from me and really think about me and not just the business, but really just focus on me? And that's what was happening. And so I started to explore what are those other options that are for me if I stayed inside of corporate or if I exited. And what I found through this opportunity after the next few weeks is that maybe I should consider executive coaching and going out my own, and what that looked like. And I started interviewing other people that have done that and started to understand like what that plan would be. And so I set forth getting my certifications. I was actually coaching people inside of Google. They gave me that opportunity to do that. And then lastly, I said, okay, I'm not saying that I'm going to leave Google at this point, but I want to understand all opportunities. And what happened after about 11 months in the program, I decided it was time. And yes, I did save up the money to be able to start my own business. I made sure to understand all the possible things that I needed to do to be able to be successful at launching the program. I had the right mentors around me, the right sponsors around me, which are so important. And I decided I was going to take that leap. And you know, one of the number one things I learned through the process that I'd like to share with your all's team is, and the people that are listening, is that I found myself. I started to believe that I wasn't just important based on working in the organization I work with, because my value was a lot larger than that. And when I started to believe in who I was and really believed in my identity, that allowed me to be able to take that next step out and start my own business, which is Lori Huss, consulting and coaching and speaking. But I came just to be say one-on-one coaching and some corporate coaching. And I had about 10 clients to start my business. And that was really the key. I listened to everyone and they said, you need about 10 clients to get started. And I had those 10 and they were paying customers. And I knew I was going to build from there. But without that belief and without having the stability of a few people around me that were going to keep me centered in on who I was and where I was going and be able to take one step at a time. I was not going to be the best coach ever at step 1. but I had that right people around me that allowed me to get started. And that is the reason I made the transition from corporate into owning my own business.
Wow, wow, that is phenomenal. Well, that is something. You have three main offerings on your site: so individual coaching, corporate programs, and healthcare consulting. Which one is driving the business right now?
Well, when I initially got started, it was individual coaching.
Okay.
And then I did get a few consulting opportunities, which were really nice, right? Because that allowed me to get the revenue I needed to be more flexible, then to start hunting my corporate coaching. And today it's my corporate coaching that actually leads the way for me. And that is something that's so important to know is when I was, had the mentors around me to be able to help me, the direction was find your niche. Don't go so broad. Don't be everything to everyone. Find your niche. And my niche is really high performers. I'm a high performer myself. I knew I could be able to coach high performers. So I started there. And then on the corporate side, what I found is a lot of organizations really were lacking clarity, good communication, prioritization. And so when I found that niche on that side, that allowed me then to scale up to be able to land corporate and really solve the problems that they were looking for. And that's allowed for my success. The speaking opportunities have come, you know, that wasn't even a goal of mine when I first started. And then in January, I ended up sitting in this mic drop workshop and decided to be able to get my certificate through them to become a professional speaker. But that allows me to be able to supplement income too. But what I can share with you, someone sharing with me not to be broad, to go very
Mhm.
narrow and really know where I can make a difference and solve problems for people automatically within that hour and or within the first few weeks of working with a corporate organization that you would see results. And that's truly what's happened.
So let's talk a little bit about each one of those areas. So on the individual coaching side, executive leadership and transformation health and life, transformational sales coaching. So how do people typically find you? Is it referrals? Is it inbound from content, speaking gigs? How do people find Lori Huss?
Well, they find me in a few different ways. I will tell you, number one, it's been referrals. That is
Okay.
truly where you get your business. But secondly, I invested in making sure that I was available on LinkedIn. So if you go, to Lori Huss and look it up on LinkedIn, and we're able to follow each other and you're able to be a part of that, that is something really important. I write twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that's where I just don't write and say, oh, this is the tip of the week. It is tools. It is to be able to help people. So people find me on LinkedIn too. They like my content and they'll reach out to me. And that's where I get some business too. And then also in my speaking engagements, when you're able to speak in front of a large group of individuals, they all want to follow you. They want to be able to be a part of what the message, if you deliver the right message to the group and help them during that hour that you're speaking with them, or maybe it's only 10 minutes that you're speaking with them, they'll want to follow you. And so I get some business in that way too. But I have different avenues and different strategies. But what I will say is important. I did not overbook myself. I got consistent with what I wanted to do and when I could be able to deliver it. And I just went deep with that methodology.
Phenomenal. So Lori, let me ask you, when someone becomes a client, what does that look like? Is it like a weekly 50-minute session? How long do they typically stay with you?
They usually sign up for 12 weeks at least. And the reason I do 12 weeks, and it is a weekly one on one session with me, if it is an individual session, is around how people change. And the first few weeks, it's us getting to know each other, evaluation, and understanding what you're trying to solve at that point. And then the next 4 weeks are around building your skill set. And then the last 4 weeks is around you honing in on that skill set so then you can be able to thrive on your own. My clients usually don't leave after the 12 weeks. They continue with me. And they have an option of either staying every week, which I still have people over the last year and a half that have stayed with me every week. And then I have others that do biweekly, and then others that follow up with me as needed as they're coming up with other things that they need. So I give people a lot of different options based on what their needs are. But we actually talk about that in that first session before you even sign up, before you pay anything. You get one session with me for free where you understand, are we the right fit? And if we were not the right fit, then I'm going to recommend another coach, to you from people that I know that can best support you. But it's all around that relationship building in the beginning part before we actually start. So I know how long you're willing and wanting to stay and what your goals need to be.
Absolutely. Well, that is phenomenal. Well, on the corporate side of things, you've got programs, compassionate leadership, peak performance leadership, empowered employee, precision sales. Are you delivering these yourself or do you have a team?
I do not have a team. I'm a one person show. So I select my clients and we interview, and then I determine how long we're going to be together. Usually, to initially start off, people will hire me in different ways. Sometimes they hire me for a 1 hour keynote speaking engagement, or they might hire me for a 4 hour lunch and learn, or they might hire me for an extended period of time to work with their emerging leaders or a group of people within their organization. If they hire me for an extended period of time, we do a 14-week program, and I'm on site every week. And within that 14-week program, you get a lunch and learn biweekly, and then you get a one-on-one time with me for each person that is working alongside me. And then I have a way to be able to evaluate the team members and then do some check-ins with the senior leadership team, and then lastly do a post evaluation and next steps. So it really does depend, and I know for some flexibility based on what companies' needs and their desires are. Most frequently, I get hired for lunch and learns, but also I do have some corporate gigs where I work with people over an extended period of time.
Okay. Sounds good. So how do companies find out about these programs? Are you doing outbound sales? Is it mostly referrals from past clients? Is it LinkedIn? How do companies find out about these programs?
Well, in the last year, as I was trying to grow these corporate programs, I actually went to CEOs and I identified the top 10 CEOs I wanted to connect with that I thought would need my services. I did a lot of investigation on their pages, their websites, asking questions around the community that I live in, and also on their LinkedIn posts, like were they looking for a lot of people to hire? Did they lose some people? What are they posting about? So I identified a top 10, I actually had a top 30 list, but I went through the top 10 and I asked those CEOs to say, I am new to this. My desire is to go back in and work with corporations, not just individuals. And, would you allow me to do a 45-minute interview with you where I understood some of the problems that you're trying to solve? And maybe how I could be able to help, or how you could help me to interview other CEOs that maybe would need my services. And that actually landed some of my clients that, I still have today. And so I made it through the top 10 and I'm still working through that process. So others identified. And what happens is when the ones that did not select, they would refer me to other people, or they might say, "Hey, she's someone that is looking for these opportunities." And I find that those individuals are reposting my posts on a weekly basis. They're still connecting with me on LinkedIn and still reviewing the messages that I send out. So I'm hoping that that's planting seeds for the future too. But it was
Wow.
grassroots. I'm going to tell you, it was reaching out, putting myself out there. And one of the things that I would share with your audience that when I started my own business, I had a habit of evaluating everything and saying, should I say yes? Should I say no? And sometimes in the corporate world, I would say no because I didn't think it would have the benefit I needed. I had a mentor say to me, I want you to hesitate when you're going to say no and say yes, because you never know when that opportunity would be the right opportunity and you might be second guessing yourself and you might say no. So what I did is I put myself out there and I say, no matter if someone says no, it's okay. It's not a problem whatsoever. It's not about me. It could be more about them and not ready at this time. So I get started to say, it might be no, but instead of me feeling defeated, because you hear lots of no, and I want to share that with you. When you own your own business and you're an entrepreneur, you hear no a lot. I say it's no for right now, but it will be a yes in the future. And that trigger right there made me feel more comfortable about going out and getting the next no, because I knew the yes was coming, and the yes did come, and many yeses came. But it's all that belief behind you.
Absolutely. Because no now might just mean not yet, right? Not
That's
necessarily
right.
no.
Yes,
So
but
knowing that is
sometimes people don't understand that the no, it's not about you. But sometimes we hear it,
absolutely.
right? We were wrong. Like we would go, sit in the car and be like, oh, what did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? But it had nothing to do with you. And so it's changing that mindset. So then you're able to get up the next day and you're ready for the yes. You showing up every day is better than you being defeated and not showing up that next day.
Exactly. So my question to you is, what does the sales cycle look like? Who are you typically talking to? Is it HR or mostly C-suite, learning and development?
It depends. So the larger the organization, then usually
Hmm.
it's HR. So if you're going for the larger organizations of Fortune 500s or anything like that, you're going to be speaking to the HR. And I would say the ERGs too. I know that sometimes this year people would say don't reach out to ERGs. I have. I did not let that limit me at all. They're still existing. They still have funding. That's a possibility. When you get into the smaller organizations, you're more likely to be speaking to the CEO, and that's where I targeted, or a COO or a CFO, depending on what they have available. Usually, HR is not available at that time. And guess what? They might be smaller organizations, but they need us. And that is where I've been thriving is, at first I thought, oh, I need the bigger brands because I came from a larger brand. And what I found is I am growing so much and being so helpful to these organizations that really need someone like me. And guess what? They're probably under 100 employees. So you're going to look at them a little bit differently. So I think you have to understand it might be their CEO, it could be their COO that you're looking for.
Absolutely. Makes sense. Makes a ton of sense. So there is and there's the healthcare consulting piece. You've got 2 decades of experience with health plans, health system, pharma, digital health. Okay, with that being said, that emotion, how does that work? That's a different motion from coaching. So how does that work and how do you incorporate your experience there?
Yeah, so I have a lot of healthcare experience from building products to marketing them, sales of them. I have deep experience because I spent my last 5 years with Fitbit and Google. And so I was a part of their hardware organization and working with other, it was B2B solutions. So it's not direct to consumer. And what I found is people need help with strategy. And sometimes they might not have that chief strategy officer, that strategy team that they have available, but they're looking for that person that has that expertise. It's something that I really enjoy to be able to dive deep into the innovation that they're looking for. I think one of the things I bring is I'm a great listener. I love to build relationships and I love to listen well. I listen to understand individuals really to understand the problems they're trying to solve. And so, in knowing that skill set, I put that out there to be able to help organizations. The ones that I get phone calls from are the ones that are wearables right now, more than I do on the health insurance part. But I
Hmm.
really try to support them in what it's like to be able to develop the programs that they're looking to develop directly for the end user and solving the problem of the end user. So they'll reach out to me. They usually find me through referrals. 100% that happens. She left Google. That is someone that you might be able to support you. So I don't ever really get any traffic from my website on it, but they usually find me in different ways. It's either LinkedIn or they'll navigate to my website or they'll reach out to me personally. And we have a conversation to say, would I be able to help? I always provide them a full proposal with the cost that it would take within there, and then they're able to understand what I'll actually deliver in the time period. A lot of times it's quick deliveries that they're looking for because they're trying to be able to understand what the opportunity is in the marketplace.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, Lori, are you actively pursuing healthcare consulting clients, or is it more optimistic based on your network from Google, Fitbit, and Humana?
It is really just something if somebody needs it. Really, where I'm spending my time and my energy is around helping others to become the best leader that they would like to become and to be able to balance their health and well-being in being that leader for their team, their organization, and their family. So that's where I'm spending the majority of my time.
Let me ask you, are you doing anything consistently like newsletters? I know you said you're doing LinkedIn posts and you said you do on every Tuesday and every Thursday or speaking. Have you done multiple podcasts as well?
I do. I try to do every podcast that I can. I just find it's just wonderful to be able to be a part of the opportunity to be able to deliver your message and then to be able to work and build your community. But the other thing that I have is I have a newsletter that goes out every Sunday. So people can be able to find that on my website and be able to sign up. The thing that I try to do is you get a lot of newsletters that give you a lot of information. My newsletter is around giving you a tip, telling you why it's important and how to implement it. And so you get every Wednesday something that sends you on a small step forward that you can be able to put into place on Monday and to be able to support your growth or your team's growth. So that's the goal of that newsletter. And that has been so rewarding. And people have given me so many great, kudos over that because I love to see that I have a very large open rate, about 75% open rate. So I know people
Mm.
are seeing it, using it, and be able to get a great skill set from that. So I do actually get a lot of business from my newsletter.
I was actually just about to ask you if the newsletter talks are achieving results and basically how big that list is and is it converting into clients. And it
It
sounds like
is. And I think this is something really, you meet a lot of people throughout this process. And one of the things I will share with you, and I want to let you all know, the hill is hard to climb. It is a hard hill to climb. And you are that person that you're relying on. Have a good team behind you. My husband has been amazing. He has been that support person to be able to help and support me on those days where they are challenging. But you'll go into this and you'll say, oh, I need to have so many people on my list, or I need to have so many followers, or I need to have so many reposts. And it is tough because you're going to find that there's people that you're going to look up to and admire during this process. They're going to have a lot of followers and they're going to have these great results, but just start, just get started because the results do come. And so my list is steadily growing and my followers are steadily growing each and every day, each and every week. And that allows me to be where I'm at. But I want to be able to see people come back to my site. I want to see people be able to come back to my newsletter. I want to see those open rates to make sure that what's happening is very fulfilling and adding value to them. And so I think that the focus has to be a little bit different because sometimes if you focus on that top 1% and all the results they're getting, you're going to be like, I'm not doing enough. What I found is I am, and I'm hitting the right people, and they're actually growing and adding value to their life based on some of the things that I'm stating and things that I'm bringing forward. So to me, that's success.
absolutely. Lori, big picture. When you think about where you want Lori Huss coaching and consulting to be within the next 2 to 5 years, what does that look like? Paint the picture for us.
Yes. And as I shared with you last week, I fell in love with one of my clients. And I actually found myself not wanting to ever leave the office of one of my clients. And they came to me during my first 4 weeks of working with them and they offered me a COO position with them. And at first I said, oh no, I've got Lori Huss, right? I've got the LoriHuss.com and I'm growing. There is no way I would do this. I've already set this path forward. But I hope you all remember that someone said to me, don't say no too fast. And so I said, you know what? Please come back to me. Come back to me, in a few weeks and see where I'm at. I just really want to make a difference for you. I really want to add a value. And that CEO and COO came back to me and said, we really want you to be a part of the organization. And so I have actually joined Infinite Solutions, which is a technology and business company here locally in New Albany, Indiana, right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. So that is where I'm going to be spending my time. But I had the most wonderful opportunity that CEO believed in me so much. He says, I want you to keep LoriHuss.com and Lori Huss Business keep going. So I continue to do one-on-one coaching, corporate coaching, and I continue to be able to let Lori Huss thrive because I find it's so important. And not only that, he was a technology and business company, but now I get to be able to work with every one of his customers and be able to successfully implement some of the things that we've talked about today for them. I get to be able to think about their leadership and resiliency within their leadership and their processes in play. So when I think about Lori Huss and where I'm going in my career, I am living my dream. I'm actually living the possibility of every day when my feet hit the floor that I'm giving back to others and growing other people and letting them have so much success. And so I know that if I continue down this path, that I will continue to grow and be able to spread my word in many different ways. And that's really what I want to do. I'm on that mission to spread that word around what it is to have success for you, not for me, not for anybody else, but for you. And you believe in yourself and you know who you are. You really can fit in your shoes and be like, I'm my authentic self and I am my best self. And then you can give to other people. And so I know if I keep doing that, that success, whatever that is, right, will continue to come and I'll be able to spread that word. So that's my mission.
Wow. Wow. I mean, Lori, I don't know if you can see, but I could barely contain myself through our conversation. I can't wipe the smile off my face. Your story is so phenomenal. It's absolutely electrifying. And I hear the passion and I hear the desire to win and to help others win in this industry. So with that, I just think what you're doing is revolutionary. Keep doing what you're doing. It's absolutely phenomenal. Do you see yourself building a team, staying solo, creating programs that run with you, or, what do you see in terms of that expansion? And really, what are some of the things or challenges that you're facing today in your business, if any?
Well, when you're a one person, right, you have tons of challenges every day. You're only as good as the time that you allow the manage for to do this work for others. So I am not setting forth today to say what it looks like right now. I want to stay independent, but as I continue to spread my word, and to be able to understand what comes forward for me, then at that point I will determine, do I want to grow that organization even more to be able to support that message moving forward. So I'm not going to say yes or no because I think that I need to be able to understand what that looks like. So what are the challenges? Technology. That's it right there. You're only as good as what technology that you have at your fingertips today and what you're willing to grow and learn. And so that's a very big limiting factor, I'm sure, not only just for me, but for the people that are listening to this or the organizations that they're serving. And so I feel like that you can't do it all on your own. You have to understand what your needs are in your organization and what you're willing to invest in. And, I think one of the great things that we didn't have, artificial intelligence really at our fingertips to allow us to grow, but it's not going to get you there. One of the things that you just said to me, my passion and who I am and all things, I don't get that from I don't get that from Gemini. I don't get that from ChatGPT, right? I get that from being able to do that, but I've got to deliver that message out there and I got to do it as efficiently, as effectively as possible. So trying not to let those things limit you and be able to see that view and say, what will actually help and support me and what tools do I need? And then leveraging your community and others around you that have that expertise to be able to bring it in as quickly as possible so you can continue to move forward. I feel like right now that if you're not doing that, you're losing the momentum. There's no way that you'll be able to keep up, whether you're individual or you have a team around you, because the world is moving so fast. So to me, that's a huge piece. And then the second thing I would say, what I usually find, and I found this with myself, I was the number one limiting factor with myself most of my career. I did not speak healthy to myself. And so when I learned to speak healthy to myself, that was what determined me moving forward. When I quit speaking negative to myself every day, and when I believed in myself and I understood what value I really bring, and it really didn't hear all that noise coming in. And so the one thing I would share with everyone is find yourself, believe in yourself. You are unique. You are your own person. There's only one of you in this world. So please find your story, tell your story, and don't let that be a limiting factor of you moving on towards your success, whether you're in corporate America or you're on your own. You are your own best friend. So those are the two things that I would say that I find every day are limiting, and I have to work through those. And I know that if those things get in the way, that I'm not able to excel and be able to send my message out to the world.
Absolutely, Lori. And not just women in business, but people in business need to definitely understand and hear that sentiment because it is huge and it definitely will change the trajectory of where you're going and what you're trying to accomplish on a day to day. What would you say your biggest constraints on growth are right now? Is it lead generation, time, delivery, capacity, or is it something else?
It used to be lead generation. So if you guys are really starting out, I would say figuring out your lead generation is really going to help you. And I think that this time and where I'm at is not as much as lead generation as just time and making sure I'm spending my time in the best possible place where I'm getting the most value. And so my feedback is understand your niche, find out where you need to spend your time, where you're getting the most value, and move on. One of the things I do, I put a timer on my desk. And if I'm working on something more than 20 minutes, then I need to decide, do I need to spend more time here or less time here? Because my time is so important. My 5 days a week and then on the weekends. And I need to make sure that it's the most value. But it is really hard to do in the beginning. And it's hard to understand where you need to spend your time, but really becoming focused. One of the things I will share also that one of my strategies is when I get up during the day, I set my top 3 priorities of the day. And then at lunch, I check in with myself to say, where am I at with those 3 top priorities? And at the end of the day, I reflect on where I need to be and then set my next 3 priorities for the next day. And that really helps me to stay very focused in making sure that I'm, what I always say, moving the bus forward or just like staying steady or steering my ship in the right direction, making sure that I'm steering ahead and not drifting. And those are just easy things. Sometimes when I say that to people, they're like, yeah, but that's so basic. Yeah, but sometimes going back to the basics and doing them really, really well lead to your success.
Absolutely. So with that being said, Lori, those are some great time management techniques, and absolutely phenomenal just on a day to day, just setting those clear goals for the day, and what things you want to accomplish. Where are you spending your time that you wish you weren't, in terms of like admin stuff, manual tasks, things that don't require your expertise, but they do require a bit of focus?
I would say that it's admin time. You do have to spend time making sure that all the platforms that you have available, which I do have several. I have a coaching platform where people schedule, making sure that all my content is up to date, making sure they're live. I would probably say your admin time is your 10 to 20% time. You have to keep your funnel healthy on your leads and different things like that. The speaking engagements does take some time with that. I do have a lead engine that helps me to say which are the right ones for me. So then I can reach out and hopefully have more success than just cold outreaching. But those are the times that take a lot of time. I will also say content development takes some time too. And when I say that, it's because you really have to think about your content in a way. You just can't have AI build everything for you if you really want to be able to hit someone's heart every day. And that really gets your audience going. And so that takes time. I enjoy content writing. So, what I will say with a lot of my peers in the community I am, if you ask them that question, they would say their content because they maybe don't enjoy it as much, but it's something that I really enjoy and it makes me fulfilled is writing my content. So, really the admin time for me, but other people like me, they might be able to tell you a different story than what I'm telling you.
So, are there things that you should be doing, like more content, more outreach, more partnership, but you just don't have the bandwidth for?
Definitely, I would say the outreach. As you continue to go through this, you're always going to want to build more into your funnel and be able to have more success with that. For me as an individual right now, I have consistent trickles in, and so I feel really consistently. If you would have interviewed me over a year ago, I'd be like, oh, I need to have more people and different things like that. So it just kind of depends on where you're at. But I would say that's one of the areas that I try to make sure that I stay very focused in, but it is a gap for me.
Okay. Well, with your healthcare background, Google, Fitbit, Humana, I'm guessing there are massive opportunities in that space for your coaching and consulting. Are you going after that international, or is it just been on the back burner?
It's on the back burner right now. I am so open to be able to work with any of the brands that I have worked with in the past. I became very humbled, I guess you can say, and be like, I know what works for me right now. If Google called tomorrow and said we'd love you to speak to all of our women, I'd be like, yes, I'm going for it. But I just kind of understand what my fit is and what's going to be the best opportunity. I was able to speak with Honeywell's leadership team and also one of their ERGs in the last few months. And it was a great opportunity. And hundreds of people were actually on that webinar for an hour. But for me, it's about I want to make sure that my topic hits the audience, that the audience really wants to receive this message. And I think that's different from I just want to be able to get more gigs or more opportunities. I just was like had to say no, it really has to be the right fit for this. Maybe it's the time in my life, I'm not for sure, but I want to be able to stand in front of people and really fill their tank versus them just being annoyed about being sitting there and hearing me speak. So I think that's what's really important. And so I don't look for multiple opportunities, I look for the right opportunities.
Absolutely. This has been super helpful, Lori. I know I promised you 30 minutes, but we have definitely exceeded that timeline because the journey, the conversation, the passion, the drive, the success, it has just been an electrifying opportunity to just have this conversation with you. And I can't wait to share this podcast with others because I think your story is not only going to help individuals, it's helping me just having the conversation with you. So with that being said, I would love for us to end here, but really continue the conversation. So I'm going to stop recording right now. So thank you again, Lori
Thank you
Huss.
so
It's
much.
been absolutely phenomenal. And I
Thank you.
am so excited to be able to host this podcast together with you and definitely to share you with the community.
Thank you